All right, it's 4 o'clock. And
All
you
right,
have word.
perfect. We'll call the meeting to order at 4 p.m. We meet today on settled indigenous land, which is the traditional territory of the Chinookan peoples, the Wasco, Wishram, Warm Springs, and Grand Ronde tribes. Let us honor this land and its traditional native stewards, past, present, and future, and strive today to embody a commitment to cultural equity, reconciliation, ecological conservation, and sustainability. In the spirit of this, I hereby call the meeting to order at 4 p.m. All right, roll call. Tia?
Greg Pack, Chair.
Here.
Megan Ramey, Vice Chair. Here. Daryl Roberts, Secretary.
Here.
Megan Larrabee.
Here.
Laura Dunn. Jeff Helfrich.
Present.
Letty Moretti. Here.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Tia. Approval of July 20th minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review that packet?
Yes.
Does anybody have any changes to make to that?
Not me.
Perfect. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as they are.
Thank you, Letty. Can I have a second? Second. Jeff, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or contrary minded? Okay, chair votes aye. Approval has been passed. Now time for public comment. Now is the opportunity for public comment regarding any discussion item that is not on the agenda today. Is there anybody here that would like to make a public comment? Okay, you can raise your hand or hit the button. If you're attending by phone, press 9 on the phone or raise your hand. Is it Gisela? Is that how you pronounce that?
Gisela.
Gisela?
Yes. Oh, I'm just here to listen in.
Oh, perfect. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Okay. No public comment.
Followed by pound. Otherwise, please enter the meeting password followed by pound.
Well, welcome, Teresa.
I think she's having problems with her sound.
Oh, okay, so she's logging in another way.
Yeah, she's calling in.
Okay. Well, that's perfect timing because she is our next agenda item. Teresa, can you hear us?
This is what she had to do last time. Her video was working, but she couldn't get sound. She had to call in on the
She's external.
phone. Yeah, I don't know why.
There she is.
We're good. We got to admit her so she can have her sound. Hi, Teresa.
Hi there. Sorry about that.
No, we totally understand. We are, to your point in the agenda, can you do the June financial report?
I can.
Thank you.
I gotta scroll to the top. Caught me off guard. Cash at the end of July was 1.1 million. That's about 34,000 less than the first period of fiscal year 22. Accounts receivable outstanding was 71,000. There's been no change to that amount, and no payments have been received in the last 90 days. It's only 5 invoices. They're regular clients. So I suspect it's just an end of year hold on their cash. Grants receivable, the total balance at the end of July was 640,000. That's about 52,000 more than last year. Q3 payments are mostly received. Q4 invoices will be going out shortly. It's typical timing. Prepaid expenses in July were the balance on the balance sheet is 32,000. That has increased because of the renewal on the property and casualty insurance. Accounts payable also was impacted by that invoice received from special districts. It was 17,000. That left the balance at the end of the month for accounts payable at 42, but it was paid, that bill was paid the first week of August. It was 17,000. In revenue For the first period was 473,000. I believe that's a little inflated because of a $195,000 CARES Act funds that were received. Some of that is going to accrue back into last year because it applies to work that was done in prior periods. So again, this is a typical year, kind of begin of year, end of year kind of accounting that dollar amount will need correction at some point. I don't have a figure available at this time. Fuel for July was 37,000. Last year it was significantly lower. That's just because of increased services and getting back up to normal after the pandemic. Operations, that I gotta find my number, sorry. In July was 14,000. That was 9,000 more than last year. Again, just increased operations. The administrative expense for July was 21,000. That's about 8,000 more than last year, but the professional fees associated with the project planning, that special project planning, is a significant part of that amount. And everything else was level and reasonable. Personnel costs for July were 162,000. Hiring seems to be going steadily and increasing. It's a $32,000 increase for the month over last year at this time. So that gets down to net income. On the books is 230,000. Again, there's going to be an adjustment for that CARES Act fund, so I would expect that to reduce once the audit work starts getting underway. Are there any questions?
If I understand that, then the net income will probably be close to zero or somewhere in that area once that adjustment is made.
Yeah. I can't tell what, because that is a lump sum and I haven't got the original documentation for it. I don't have exact numbers. Tia and I will be working on that in the future.
Okay.
Anything else?
Just a comment about that under accounts payable, there was 17,000 invoice from special districts. We actually learned today that was a mistake. So that will not be
Could
that
you
high.
repeat that, Amy? I couldn't hear you.
Sure. We learned today that $17,000 bill from the special districts was incorrect. So it was about a $15,000 that we'll get back. So
Good for checking.
yeah. So just
Mine is one.
Any other questions for Teresa on the financials? Okay. We don't need to approve any of that stuff, right? Okay. Sure. On to agenda item number 6. Before we do that, let the record state Laura Dunn joined us. On the original roll call.
and that's at about 4:05.
405. No longer chair, and you just show up. whenever you want.
Willy-nilly, come in.
Yeah. Special guest. Special guest. Item number 6, resolution and action items.
We actually don't have any today, so we
Perfect.
can move along.
Move on to number 7, operations manager report. Ty.
All right, so we have this with employee of the month first, so we will do employee of the month first. Our employee of the month this month is Deborah Nunes. She is a local school bus driver. She's actually grown up here her entire life, but she would not stop driving if you wouldn't stop her from driving. She's driven the school bus for the day, driven the school bus down here, parked it on the street, walked out and gotten our bus, started driving and driven the school bus home, just drive the school bus the next morning. So she's just been an amazing person all around. You can't get her out from behind the wheel.
She just drives a local route?
She drives everything.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So she's going to Portland back and forth. She was driving Dial-A-Ride today.
How long she been with Cat?
She's been with Kat about 7 months. Yeah, maybe a little bit less than that, actually. We're not stealing her from the school district. She is remaining with the school district, but she is going to stay with us as a part-time currently. To go through the report, mine was in super weird format. It looks like your guys' came through a normal format. Greg had asked for a couple of updates to it. So if you see our safety score is down. That is because of these 100 harsh events that were reported on Samsara. This is my pledge to you guys that we will get that item resolved and have all of those boxes physically installed in the vehicles correctly. And we will not be having to do this actual harsh events column next, where there's only 3 real harsh events, and all the other ones are the boxes just moving around inside the vehicle.
And I believe, I'm not sure, we have put that there, it doesn't look like it's on this version, this, what the star equals, which is that it's just harsh events due to some sort of movement.
Oh,
Didn't show up on that.
Yeah,
So-
it's- yeah, so we'll update that for next time.
yeah, so it's updated on this one, but the star wasn't really. Doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah. We'll
I was
update
putting a
that.
star because I didn't go back and calculate that for those other months.
Oh, okay.
Got it, okay.
That's what that star is there. Yeah, I could have just put an A. On-time performance, Greg also asked to add the goal for what on-time performance should be. I'm gonna put that back to you guys. What do you think our on-time performance should be? Obviously, 100% would be great, but that's probably not a realistic goal. So do you have a?
5 minutes.
So yeah, so the first one is fixed route on-time performance
Okay.
within 5 minutes. The
Okay.
second one is fixed route on-time performance within 15 minutes. So we're saying if it's within 15, then we're considering it on time. And then the bottom 2 are dial a ride within 5 minutes on time and then 15 minutes on time, which is 15 minutes is what we consider on time when we call and book people. If they say, hey, I want a 12 o'clock pickup, we say, okay, we can be there between 11:45 and 15.
Okay.
If we're there at 12:15, we consider ourselves on time.
Okay.
So how do you figure the metrics then when you have a bus that has a delay because of passengers, you need help, and it's like 5 minutes, so it's not, the driver's not getting penalized, or it's not a penalty, but it's showing it's actually, he's helping, he or she's, the driver's helping somebody, but then that doesn't get accounted for if it's not on time.
Yeah, so the dial a ride one is a little bit.
That's not even like in a regular service.
Yeah, so the regular service is strictly based off of the bus and the GPS and exactly where it is. So you can't falsify that in any way. If the bus isn't there, it's not there, doesn't say it. The dial ride one is a little bit different in that the driver actually has to push the button. So there's a user error part where I've done it 100%. Get in there, you're helping Betty or whoever load her, get her in a wheelchair, strap her in, like, okay, talking to her, get her fare, you drive away. I didn't hit the button to hit pick up. That's now not considered on time because the human didn't push the button to get it on time. So the dial ride one gets a little bit difficult there because we can't go back and say, oh, that was actually on time.
I mean, it seems to me like at least on the fixed route, you know, it seems like 97 is pretty reasonable, and on the 15, like 99.
Yeah,
Seems like
right.
Yeah.
those would be the targets. I don't know. You have to do something that's reliable. And this is just something to base off of. Are we trending well? Or are we not trending well? Or are there actions that we can
Yeah.
take?
And
Obviously,
we
Ty,
can-
if somebody on the dial ride's not hitting the thing, you know, who cares? That's not as important as picking somebody up and being a good service person doing it instead of trying to hit a number.
Well, and then it helps us understand why, right? Like in July, I'm pretty sure there was at least 2 times where I-84 was shut down.
Yeah.
Which is probably a large amount of the reasons why that number was so low or lowish. I would consider 9% probably lowish on a fixed route.
Yeah.
Um,
And as a board, we only want to look at kind of bigger global stuff. We don't want to get into the biggie as to why.
Yeah.
Things are happening, but I think it's good to have an overall goal.
So yeah, I guess my question was, do you guys want me to set a baseline and say, let's do this? We can also compare to other agencies and say like, these guys are doing this, these guys are doing this.
Oh, yeah, I would love to
What
know
is
best
most
practices.
beneficial
Yeah,
for-
I think that's good.
Mhm.
Good way to do it.
Yeah, and
Perfect.
if it's consistently below like 97% or 99%, we should maybe adjust the schedule.
Well, it just indicates we gotta look at something, right? Why are we
Yeah.
not making it and have us dive further into that?
Yeah, exactly, because we can go into this and say, oh, the city route is 100% on time, but
Yeah.
the Columbia Gorge Express
Right.
is 75% on time. Yeah, we can do a lot more detail if you guys want. But yeah, we'll add a comparison one on there. There was also the request to add a cost per mile. I added a cost per mile. It is only the cost per mile of the fuel. It's not taking anything else into account there. So I'd say the cost per mile of 62 cents. That obviously is not
Capital
our
appreciation.
loaded
Yeah.
cost per mile. So I don't know if there's more.
Nope, that's,
That's exactly
That's
what's going on. Okay. We
I
can-
only asked that because I kept doing the math in my head every month, like,
Yeah.
how are we trending? Are we at 50 cents? Or are we at this? And see whether we're getting better gas mileage. or Gases are going up. So that'll be helpful.
Chair, question about on-time performance, sorry to back up a little
Yeah,
bit.
no.
Can we take into consideration like connections with buses? I feel like that some people are like, well, I need to get on another bus, but on-time performance and how that would affect connecting buses, like is there? A way that
communicate with their
we're-
connections, right?
Yeah, so
Okay,
if we have a connection, the drivers verbally radio each other to say, hey.
One way.
But
I
if you're
have
getting
the-
on the link or then you're going
Yeah.
across the river, like how,
But sorry, I guess I'm confused on your question exactly.
with on-time performance, like if we wiggle within 15 and whatever we set, is that gonna affect connecting buses in any way?
I mean, our
Let's think more of
our
the.
goal is still be 100% on time, right? This is just kind of a back end
Mhm,
saying,
mhm.
we want these numbers to be this. We're not gonna actually say to the drivers, okay, we have a 5% variance on you being on time.
Okay, yeah.
Our fuel costs went slightly down as gas prices dropped a little bit, and we had no major vehicle repairs. Amy, do you remember what this one customer? Was?
I'm sorry, I do not.
It was, I don't remember it, but you brought it up last month because I said 0 and you said, no, there's one, and it was because we do them on a rolling month. I don't remember what it was, but it was a relatively minor.
No, I'm not, but what I'll do is I'll relook at our data that we have and I'll send that to the board.
I should probably update how we do that as well.
We should probably make some sort of comment or something so that we don't forget it.
Wasn't me, was it?
No,
No, was it? Like, because I
No.
emailed you about,
No.
okay.
No,
No,
But
this
Sorry.
is-
it's
Oh.
very specific. When we take a complaint, we ask, would you like to make a complaint?
it
And
has
then
to be
they,
a formal-
Oh, okay.
and then we
alright.
do a very formal process in order to report it. We're actually required to per ODOT as well.
Okay.
So I think it was at the very beginning of the month and I just don't have that good of a memory. But I'll let you all know what that was.
No, anyone texting me or saying somebody was grumpy or anything else doesn't
Okay.
count as a complaint. So,
It's very,
good mouse.
oops.
It's back on there. It's just a projector. It won't come around until it sources.
So the question I have is with the complaints, you have the formal complaint process. But then if there's that, the driver is being grumpy or something like that, do you look at that as an opportunity for improvement, room for improvement, or opportunity for supervisor to speak with the employees like, hey, here's an opportunity for improvement, just speak up, we got nothing in your file. However, this is just a perception that's going on.
Anything that I get that is directed towards a driver, I remove personal information from it and I print the email or exact thing out and pass it on directly to them, whether it is good or bad.
So if it's just an email, do you make the opportunity for you to connect with the person that's making the complaint, a physical phone call? Hey, I was just following up on your email, just wanted to get some more context.
If they ask for a follow-up, then yeah, 95% of them, it's just like, oh, hey, just wanted to let you know that I saw this bus do something, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
I think it also depends on the situation. So if it's simply someone saying, there was red flowers on your bus or something, it's like, okay, cool, that's great, there's flowers on our bus. But if it's like your driver was texting or they were playing really loud music or something like that, and then we ask them, do you want to make a formal complaint? And if they say no, it doesn't matter about our action. We're still gonna pull video cameras. We're gonna talk to that driver, review the policies, and make sure that everybody is on the same page as to what their expectations are.
say 75% of the ones that I review are, it's the other person's fault being a goofball, and they just happened to like, oh, I can call and complain because there's a number right there, and I just want to tell somebody, no, look at the video, and it's like, no, you drove right in front of the bus and slammed on your brakes, and like,
So you have video
Yeah.
going
Yeah, there's
all the time?
all the buses have a minimum of 6 cameras on them.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So everything
Audio
is,
and video fully recorded on everything.
Yeah. so we have a pretty good documentation on everything. Okay. Well, we'll
Sorry,
follow
but,
back up
Any
with,
other questions on the
Yes.
operations report? We'll make the updates for the best practices, on-time performance, and the complaint.
How operations are you doing staffing wise?
Surprisingly well.
we have hired a couple new drivers.
Yeah.
We are training them to get their CDL. So we are going through that process.
So they're driving shuttles now?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're doing the non-CDL required tasks while they're learning how to, or going through the permit process and training for the CDL.
And where's our testing? Who do we test with?
Transportation wisdom, Ernie.
Okay.
Same guy you guys use in Meadows.
Oh.
And we hired a new dispatcher and they're gonna start on August 29th. And then we will, we're also in the final, or the end of the hiring process of another field supervisor too. So it looks like by the end of this month, we should be fully staffed. Which is exciting. Yeah.
And then do we have upcoming seasonal service changes?
Yes, the Falls Lock service ends on September 6th. And then we will do our large seasonal services change October 1st. And then add Bush Mountain, pending that grant and everything. Hopefully sometime in December.
That should be a huge priority.
Yes. It is one of our highest ridership things.
And it's gonna, we were actually talking about this today. It's gonna be really interesting this year to see what the ridership for Gorge to Mountain service will be. Our ridership for our fixed route, so the city route and the Fleming Gorge Express, they're actually at or above our ridership of what we were before the pandemic, which is actually pretty fantastic.
That's great.
Yes, and not all other providers are actually seeing this, so this is really good news for us. So I think this year it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Gorge to Mountain ridership, and to see if we're bouncing back on that, because it was obviously super high before the pandemic. And then it dropped incredibly low and it went up just a little bit. And so we'll see what happens. I'm sorry, I feel like there's something else I was gonna add to that, but I don't remember, so.
For
Next slide.
whenever Tara Lingley does her postmortem on the, what is the pilot called? For
It's
the
it's
waterfall.
two names. There's the waterfall corridor and then there's the waterfall permit
Yeah,
or access permit. Yeah.
whenever she does that postmortem, I don't know if one of us, well, you're gonna be at that meeting, probably for the Friends of the Historic Hunter. It would be great if we got an understanding of how, what our service does affected that and how we can help it. I mean, just from personal observation, it was wonderful, but I'm so curious what her final conclusion is gonna be.
Yeah, and well, actually I have that on my list to kind of talk about a little bit later. But yeah, so
We wanted to do more with them than we did.
Yeah.
Great. Next time. On the executive director report.
cool. And actually I'm gonna punt it over to Tia for the first part for the accountant status follow.
Okay, we are still looking for an accountant. I have reached out to several that I had previously reached out to. I think our timing was a little off because it was kind of tax season and everybody was pretty busy at the time. But I have received verbal responses of interest. I'm still continuing because the more participation I could get, the better. So I'm hoping that within the next couple of weeks, we'll have more of a response for that position. But Teresa is still kindly doing month to month with us, which is amazing. I had spoke with Daryl about the submission that we had received, and we had just decided that it was best to continue the search.
I think having this accountant that kind of oversees us is really important, and we just want to make sure it's really the right fit.
Yes.
And that the knowledge and expertise is there specifically with grants and transportation districts and government entities.
And then are we concerned at all on getting the books closed on time or on audit, or Teresa?
So Teresa is doing month to month,
Yeah.
and we're working with our new auditors, and they're wonderful. They're very on top of things. They already have given us a list, and we are on track to have everything to the board by the December board meeting.
Yes. Is that burden
Potentially
on you
earlier.
to provide all that, or is it Teresa providing most of it?
It's me with
Okay.
Teresa as a backup.
Okay.
It's nice to have her. And I actually like that. It gives me the opportunity to go through the process, but have Teresa, who has went through, CAT specific, to rely on, to help me through that for the next year with the new accountants.
And that wouldn't actually be any different even if we had a new accountant, right? It'd still mostly be TN and
Okay.
helping out.
Okay.
Okay, so on to me. So just wanted to provide a little bit of a Transit Master Plan update. So the public engagement piece, as I spoke last time, we were working, or at the time we were working on compiling all the different service options and putting them into a survey that we will then release to the public. So this will be our second survey. So people actually have the ability to choose the different options. That beta is going to be going out next week. So we've selected a few amount of people, and they will then give us the opportunity to, or they will give us their feedback of, was it easy to understand? Did they know what the information we were trying to get from them, et cetera, et cetera. And sorry, I also wanted to say too, everything that I'm going to be sharing tonight in my my update is informational only, just so you guys know that. So then in the week after, we will be releasing the survey to the public, general public, and we'll have it open until about mid-September. We have an RFP out right now for a planning consultant who will help us do the project management of the plan to kind of help us keep moving along and kind of actually write the plan as well, because there's still a lot to do. So that has been sent out and just waiting for proposals. Oh no. I'm gonna put this right here so I don't forget.
Change the sleep time on your computer to an hour.
I could do that as well. Sorry about that for
So
everyone.
once
who's
you get
remote.
once you get the survey information back, is it purely by populace response, whether we go with one route versus another, or do you go back to consultants and this group and say something else makes more sense than what the public
So
is asking for?
I think it's definitely what the public wants and needs, I think is really important. At the end of the day, we have to kind of go back with what us as an agency makes the most sense for us to do, whether it's operational or financial reasons. But this is to understand what the community wants us to do, and we will do everything we can to kind of get to that point. It might not look exactly the same, but that will be our goal. So all the different grants that we apply for, all the different partners that we work with, it'll kind of be going in that direction. And everything that we have given as an option we haven't given any really left field options. They're all options that we think can be doable. There just are some trade-offs. Some of the trade-offs, there's more fixed route stops, and some of them they're not. They'd be more like, for example, in the Upper Valley, and I'm going to show you guys the updated maps that hopefully make it a little more clear from last time, but there'll potentially different, will address dial-a-ride in a different way in Upper Valley. So it's just, there's trade-offs, and I think this is really just to help us understand what's important to the community. Does the community want more fixed route stops? Or do they really just want a mobility hub where you can get taxi service to go to that hub and then hop on the fixed route? What makes the most sense?
Okay.
Or is it more important to have service that goes later in the evening, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so with that, let's share my screen. I'm not sure why it's not showing.
Did show all windows in the bottom right. That's cool down.
And then we're open than I had it. All right, here we go.
Good thing you got your IT guy.
I know.
Your tech producer.
All right.
It's just backseat driving, really.
Okay, so the first option, like we talked about, so you have and it's a little hard to see on this screen, but I also have these, if you guys want to see them. I'll just pass them around.
Try to start to.
There you go. So the red route, that's our current route. And then here's the blue route. And so that's only for peak times. So during, I think it's like 6:30 or 7 to 8:30 in the morning, and then 5 to 7 at night, the blue would run in addition. And since we've already gone over these, do you guys just want me to kind of blow through them real quick, or are there any specific questions?
No, you sent this to our email.
And we did, these are the updated maps. It took us kind of a while to kind of really address kind of how to make these easy to read.
Appreciate them.
And so then the second option, what did I do?
Okay. So there's.
How many different options are we looking at?
So there's, for each focus area, there's 2 options. So there's the east focus area, and this is all of the options together. So the east focus area, there's 2. The first one is you were to keep the circulator route, and then we add the AM and PM peak service as well to make it easier to get between downtown and the Heights. And
This one.
so then the second option is where we remove the circulator route.
Oh, yeah.
And you just have this route that is the blue route that's a little bit more direct. The yellow or the orange pieces are the mobility hubs. So that means that we'll have different, it will either connect with maybe the west route, which we'll get into, or maybe there's also bike share, and there's other transportation options. And then,
Oh, yeah, this is,
So
I have
there's,
option 1, or,
sorry, Amy
Put it
passed
at
around
east.
6 different maps.
yes.
yeah,
Okay.
so
Oh,
they
okay.
kind of all go together.
If you only grab one piece of paper, you are short.
I'm
4
short,
maps.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, take it.
So that's this one, and I'll send these all out after a meeting today. And then the Hood River West focus area map. So this allows us to get to the west side with there being a mobility hub here. And the idea is that this mobility hub would make it easy for kids to get to the high school, so they can then access the Indian Creek Trail. And then we have,
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
yeah.
Might be an update on that soon too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then there's several different proposed stops as well. And that kind of depends on development as well. And so the idea is that you can pair Hood River East 1 with Hood River West 1 or 2, or you could do Hood River East 2 with Hood River West 1 or 2. So then what we did to make that easier to, so here's the other Hood River West option. It would travel more, but in it's less dense populated areas, or less density. So while you would be able to probably access more folks this, or like farther out this way, you're probably gonna get more riders with option 1. And then here what we did, it's kind of a lot on this map, but the intent was to show what this would look like if you combined the options. So again, you have the circulator route, and then you have the AM PM peak on the blue, and then the pink, you have the Hood River West option. And then here's Hood River East option 1 with the west option, the second west option.
You printed like 10 maps.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of maps down. These are the new maps that we created to kind of assist, make it easier to understand. So Hood River East option 2 and Hood River West option 1. So again, you're getting rid of the circulator, and instead of just having one big loop, you have 2 routes that will serve these areas. Mhm.
So the option 2 and 1 both will serve the aquatic center and the junior high. That all runs up 18th, right? So I'm looking at the map on.
Yes, yeah. So this is a proposed stop right here. So this is Bunting's. Yeah, we've got a lot of folks that get off and on there anyways, so we figure why not just make a stop there.
And they're open to that?
That one I don't think we've necessarily reached out to.
Well, yeah, we wouldn't reach out to Bunting's because Bunting's would be across the street. It would be at the city or the private land.
Right.
On the north side.
Okay, that.
We're also, and I realize we don't have it on here, we've also been working with St. Mary's Church to look at adding a stop right in front of them.
So we have full approval from
Yeah.
them for what was it, 6 by 10 area to do whatever we want.
Yeah, which would be great, and that could be another potential mobility hub. So yeah,
It's up to the city.
and then with Hood River East option 2 and Hood River West option 2, this is what that would look like. They would kind of combine at Rosars. Both of them would access one community health. And then the other one, they would connect at the aquatic center. You wouldn't necessarily get that connection here. The connection would be at the CAT transfer and Rosars and Port. And then for Odell and the lower Highway 35, so this option, you have a more kind of direct, more of a fixed route spot with 2 mobility hubs. This one over here would connect with Highway 35 and with the Gorge to Mountain Express bus.
Is Highway 35 on there? You just can't see it in the color?
I think so.
I see a 35 symbol. That's what I asked that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it must not,
Okay.
yeah, I think it's just not super.
but it's
visible.
at the juncture there.
Yeah.
Do we have
Um,
any
That's
stop that
Stedman
we
Ridge, right?
refer to as a mobility hub at this time?
No.
No.
Okay.
Um,
So what will that look like compared to a bus stop or a parking ride?
So great question. So it's kind of like what we have here, and there will be different levels. So the idea is that you have bicycle access. So maybe it's bike share, maybe it's scooter share, what have you. Car share potentially. Some of them might have a park and ride as well. Like the ones on Highway 30 Y5 would have a park and ride. Mobility Hub kind of has a large umbrella, but the idea is that there would be access to more transportation options in general. It's not just a transit stop. And it would help serve the first mile, last mile solution.
we're almost there here. If we had like some bikes, we have bike lockers, but if there's like bikes or something that you could like
Like share.
pay or scan your phone to go. then-
Or if we had car share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like working on it so much.
And what about electric charging? What do we have for electric charging?
Here?
Yeah.
We have
For
4
house,
chargers in the back at the moment.
But for the public?
The public, we don't.
We don't have.
No.
We were looking at it, but it was gonna be way too expensive in order to do
We would
that.
have
Would
to-
that be included in any park and ride option?
I
Or
think we
sorry,
can,
mobility.
I think we would definitely look into it. I think that would be our hope. Again, it just depends on funds and how easy it would be to do that.
Well, the port stop is like already a mobility hub because you have the, what's my problem?
You have the car
electric
share.
vehicle shares right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you can rent a paddleboard 4 steps away.
Yeah.
And so it has lots of different options. This would have limited deviations. So right now our Upper Valley route deviates quite a bit. And we're finding that's making it a lot harder for us to actually do the service because it's becoming so popular, which is great. But we're trying to funnel more people into the actual fixed route so that we can serve more.
Sunday drive. I'm looking at the hub. Over on Highway 35,
This one,
right?
Sunday's down the road from that, if that's the case, but not where Odell Highway meets 35, Sunday's.
Or right, like right kind of around there. Is that what we're looking at? Because that's like the number 1 place for accidents on Highway 35.
yes, I believe that's.
The proposed mobility hub,
Yeah, is that Sunday?
Yeah,
or-
that's-
I'm pretty sure it's off 35. It's
the
behind the
duck wall
Cardinal
and-
glass
Oh, behind there.
area.
Mhm.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
okay,
So
yeah.
it's off 35. It's on that road that
Right.
gets off and then doesn't
Either
move behind Cardinal and
or
gets back on.
Odell.
And a lot of these too, when we're saying proposed mobility hubs, these aren't a tomorrow. We put a
Yeah.
hub in, it's, okay, this is great. This is like where the general public wants us to be. All right, let's identify this, the different partners. Okay, if this, these folks will work with us. Okay, we found this money from our STIF formula grant. Let's use this to help make this. And then every year we'll kind of,
The latitude
Towards
longitude
that.
is also not hard coded. It has to go here. That's
Yeah.
just the, we
It
think
makes,
this area.
makes
is-
sense. Cardinal,
Yeah.
right there, everybody's coming down. the mountain.
so it's,
It's exciting.
yeah. And then again, these are mobility hubs, make it easier. And then the second one, it's even a quicker, the idea is that it would be a quicker, it's just like constantly going back and forth between Odell and Hood River with a pretty fast headway. So I think this was a 30-minute headway, meaning every 30 minutes it'll be there. And then this is every 60 minutes. And so this would also be limited deviations, but the idea would be, so folks who can't use the fixed route or can't drive or can't, will hopefully use their bike rather or walk to here, then we would work with a taxi service, which we can use 5310 funds to contract with a taxi service to provide that dial a ride service to get them to this hub, and then it gets them back down to Hood River.
But that wouldn't hit Highway 35 at all.
Correct. So this one would not access Highway 35, so you wouldn't have the access to Parkdale.
Like, so along these routes, are the stops just where you have identified or like where Odell Highway meets Burke Hill? Are there, if people are there, would it be planned on stopping or is there, what's the frequency? Would it be something down at Apple Valley?
So, and I think that's and what we'll be trying to do with this survey too is asking if there's any other suggestions of additional stops, then we can definitely look at these. These are just based on the information that we have. This is Mid Valley Market is our current stop, so is Weiss Middle School.
Right.
But right now, the Upper Valley is not a flag stop route because we don't really necessarily know the route. Because it's a deviated fixed route, the route changes every day.
We allow people to flag it, but we give them that caveat that
Yeah.
it doesn't have a route. So
Yeah.
it might drive down 35, it might drive down D Highway, you might not be able to find it.
Whereas if we're making it more of a fixed route, that's something that we can potentially do
Okay.
as long as it's safe for people to stop, their drivers to stop. Anything else, Ty, that I've,
Not yet, not until you go to the other
Okay.
ones and kind of time all, I think.
And then, so here we are for Parkdale and Upper Valley. So this one is the Gorge to Mountain Express bus would actually go into Parkdale and then come back out. And it would go, it was like 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the afternoon. However, if people went to this stop here, this transit hub, and it actually should be mobility hub. I didn't catch that. This mobility hub to use the Gorge to Mountain Express every time it goes by. Does that make sense?
So they could have a direct route up to Mountain without going.
And that's right at Mount Hood.
Yeah, so it would be direct up to the mountain in the morning. And then on the way back down, when we are normally running an empty bus, it would stop by Parkdale. And instead of us running a separate bus at Parkdale, this would just stop by Parkdale and then continue on down the hill. And then reverse at the end of the day, it would be direct from the mountain down and then be bringing people from Hood River and stop in Parkdale on the way up. So that we're hopefully never running empty buses.
But then we still have this stop, which is a Gorge to Mountain Express stop. So it would, the Gorge to Mountain Express bus would always stop here. So people would have the option to always pick it up there. And then we would have to do work with a taxi service or a private company to do the dial ride. And then the second option, it is just a mobility hub on Highway 35. So it wouldn't go into Parkdale, so it would just be the Gorge to Mountain Express. So we work with a private company to take people to this bus stop or this mobility hub. And then those folks would hop on the Gorge to Mountain Express.
Okay.
And then
All the other maps are great. That other one is terrible.
I'm kind of wondering if I accidentally saved the wrong one,
Okay.
because I'm pretty sure that it just didn't change the, yeah, the mobility hub. And then the Cascade Locks, option 1, it's just this quick little route. We are asking very specifically community members for proposed stops where they think it makes sense to have the stops there on the survey. And so this would just be very quickly, a very quick route. And then the second option is it's just a mobility hub. We work with a private company if people need dial-a-ride to get to the fixed route stop, and then it would take them to Portland or Hood River.
So no local service, sure.
Correct.
No local door-to-door or service beyond
Fixed route
the
service on
Columbia
Cascade.
Gorge Express coming.
I mean, as a resident of Cascade Locks, you won't have, there will be no fixed route anymore.
Well, there would be the Columbia Gorge Express. There wouldn't be a dedicated Cascade Locks bus.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is 10 times over our lowest ridership.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's a really hard
It's
nugget
such a
to pass.
dense little community. It's almost like the bus isn't.
Yeah.
Needed.
It's very hard, which is why we came up with the mobility hub
It's gonna do
option.
great this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend's gonna be
PCT days.
fantastic.
Oh, cool.
I think you have lived in Cascade Locks. I think the biggest thing is the dial-a-ride program for the people with mobility issues, the senior community there.
Yeah.
Because
To the bus.
I've seen the bus stops over there before, they just don't get used. It's never was a big deal. The only time the bus stops were there is the ones that they had fixed were the Lions Club, and they used those for the school so the kids could sit there and get out of the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the mobility is probably, you'll see your best bet.
Yeah.
For the dial-a-ride, so.
Yeah, so that's when we would contract with a private entity to do that, to bring people to our bus stop.
That's probably 75% of our rides right now.
Yeah.
It's those, and it's sending a vehicle all the way from here to go pick up somebody at the house to bring them somewhere else.
Yeah, so it's, right now, it's just not the most efficient service. All right, any questions?
No, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no,
Sorry, just on the first Hood River East one, well, and I guess all the Hood River ones, but why do we go down? Does everybody know what Park is? It's kind of like where 10th turns into,
Yes.
instead of staying with traffic.
Because there's nowhere to stop.
Where do we stop on Park or?
We don't
that
stop
route?
at Park, we start on the corner of 11th and May, or not 11th, no, it is 11th.
Yeah. I get you. Park's like a neighborhood street that I wish there was less traffic on.
Yeah, so that's our. This
When there's no
this-
sidewalks, you have to walk in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our third solution attempt in that area. 'Cause yeah,
It's very
first we were going with traffic, and then everybody wanted to stop there.
Mhm.
The city said, no, we couldn't stop anywhere in that traffic pattern, because you're gonna back up and destroy that traffic area. So then we were going down and we were making the right at the light and then not making the left
Yeah,
and going around the parking garage.
okay.
But that other street below the parking garage is super narrow, and that
Mhm.
turn is a terrible turn. It's banked the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so we stopped doing that instantly.
And whenever we were dropping off passengers from wheelchairs,
Yeah.
there was not enough space. So when we would drop the lift and then basically putting people into bushes, which is not okay. But in order to not do that, you have the bus basically in the middle of the street.
So is there no more stop now then, right across from the hospital by the parking garage?
It is just up the hill. It's right in front of the parking garage. It's on the corner of 11th and May.
The dermatology. Okay. Like down the street from the dermatology.
That's such a busy corner too with the.
So I think
Look at
probably,
those goofy intersections. What are you guys talking about?
I think probably the goal is, I mean, obviously it's with the streetscape, if
So
we
yeah, so
potentially
it's
have
right there right now.
a proposed
Pull up here,
stop
let me
or
get
have a
this,
stop there, and that's actually what's in the plans.
Yeah.
Um, and so, well, that's our goal.
Okay.
But if not, I think it would be to make this stop
The hospital.
better.
Yeah,
Maybe an actual pull-out space where people can't park,
yeah,
better signage, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
like that.
My only other one is
Yeah,
the
and then
18th, because that is a
Food
big student
So
traffic
you don't stop
way
there.
and.
Not anymore.
in
No.
terms
So
of
the first
safety
thing we
to
did is we
school.
used to just come down, but then everybody.
I'll
wanted
be
to
doing a
stop at the hospital
demonstration
and
project on
stop.
that next summer
Yeah. So now we did this.
for 6
Yeah.
months, which
Getting people
will
on and off
narrow
was
18th.
terrible.
Got it.
It was
And
also
so
really
it's
hard
gonna
to pull
feel
back
like you
into
have to drive
traffic.
slower.
And then this
but I'll-
turn is really, really bad.
It's awesome. I get to coordinate
So now we
on
do
that.
Yeah,
that. at the
that'll be
moment,
great.
which
I'll
is
work
also
more
nice.
on that one. And then, and we'll add the St. Mary's one on there too.
And then my last little nitpicky thing is related to the gorge to mountain.
Mhm.
There'd be so many
Um,
things that would be.
I would
nice.
love to be able to not have to drive my car down to the port.
Yeah.
Not saying I want the gorge to mountain to originate in the heights, but
Oh,
to
we didn't
have
some
like
of that,
a
'cause that doesn't necessarily help us
coordinated
get down
timing
here.
with the local bus route.
Where you could match up.
Which is the-
Yeah, so I could walk over to the
Yeah, it would
bus
be
and the
strange if you
heights,
could go down the
put
ramp
my
and not here.
skis, go down and, yeah.
It's a good.
I'd be surprised if our buses could go in.
But I
there.
tend to like, when there's
Probably
Gorge
two
to
routes.
Mountain or the Columbia Gorge Express, I like less stops. I like it just to be like exactly what it is, like downtown Hood River to the mountain or downtown Hood River to Portland.
Yeah.
And then let the locals like cobble the last mile together. But maybe I just haven't even looked at the schedule. It's just,
Well, I think, as we're going into that season, then that's just something we, again, and it's a good process for us to do every time we're changing schedules to just make sure everything matches up.
I got spoiled working at Meadows and getting picked up at Rosars.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
So if there's not any other questions, we'll go ahead and close this out.
Well, how soon would we be looking at rolling out these changes and?
So it really depends on the financial analysis. So that the next thing is to look at, okay, so these are what the community members want us to do. And then the next thing to look at is, okay, so here's the funds that we get. Here's what we can potentially do with our current funds. And then here are the different funds that we should be going for or applying for in order to get these options. Okay, so then just a couple of other things under my report. As you guys know, our website is not always the most user-friendly. It can sometimes be difficult to figure out which, when you need to transfer to a different route, how you do that. And we've heard a lot of feedback about buying fares as well. So our website consultant is doing just a user study to look at what are the quick and easy fixes we can do to make it easy for people to do. Because honestly, I look at it every day, so I know I do X, Y, and Z. But I've heard feedback, especially from my folks and who are pretty technology savvy, of like, Amy, I just don't understand how to buy fares. So we'll be doing that just to see what we can kind of streamline and make it easier for folks. For the seasonal service and program update, just a reminder, so our the Multnomah Falls Transportation Ambassador pilot program that we're working with ODOT and the Forest Service on, that's also going to be ending on September 6th. I've let the Forest Service and and ODOT know that this is the last year that we can help fund this service, as it's outside of our scope, and we need to really be focusing on transit. Although this did help our transit services go much smoother. We've gotten a lot of feedback from drivers that since we've started this program, there hasn't been as many issues with congestion in the parking lot, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really great. And I'll be part of the moratorium, or the
Postmortem.
postmortem. Thank you.
It's a really like dark word to use.
It
for
is.
like
Yeah.
trying to analyze.
Yeah. So I will be part of that, and we'll be analyzing it, also working with them of figuring out how we can continue this permitting process for next year. I mean, not necessarily in the same form, but how I can, or how we can, what we can do to, what that might look like, so that we can continue doing the permitting just without us doing our current role, which is paying for the program, or the permitting program for the exit 31 only. So we're doing our just fall winter service change October 1st. And we'll have the customer facing schedules posted on the shelters hopefully at the beginning of September, so that there's a nice wide frame so people understand the changes that are happening. And then we'll be going back into our spring summer schedule tentatively the last week of April. And then the other thing to know is as we go into the winter or the fall, there's going to be a lot of grant applications that we will be having to submit. And so we will also be convening our STIF advisory committee as well, which is what we part of the STIF plan process, which is again due in January. So those are my main updates. Any questions?
I have,
Yes.
Go ahead, Daryl.
what happened with the two employees that quit at the same time, and has that situation been resolved at all?
Yeah, so we are working with our HR consultants and going through the proper appropriate review process.
Was that a dispute between them and drivers, or them and the administration personnel?
Them and administration, and I will send the report out to the executive committee once we receive that.
Okay.
And Daryl, I was made aware of it, and we had discussions around it as well too, so I understand what's going on.
Okay, well, I'm glad somebody's working on it.
Okay, thank you for the report. Any other discussion items? Would anybody like to address?
I just have an announcement. I'm so excited. I'm going to be, I just signed a contract. I'm gonna be the Safe Routes to School manager, the first one ever for our school district. Yeah, I already signed the contract. I'm starting, but the grant doesn't start until October 1st, but
So what does that mean?
so. it means so much.
What am I cheering for?
Yeah, so all 8 schools, I get to educate K through 12 on walking, biking, safety, etiquette, empathy.
Within a mile radius of a school.
No, it's all the kids and yeah, through their PE classes. So I'm gonna be working with the PE teachers.
This is all things you want recorded, right?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's public. It's just not, there's been no news yet. It's coming.
Build out routes like a mile from the school and help
That's-
kids like figure out how to get to school.
Yeah, so it's like education is like the biggest part. And then infrastructure, like I'll be helping Parks District, the county, the city, all get like money. Right now, I feel like in a cash grabbing machine because there's so much. Oh, there's so much money for active transportation. So, so yeah, helping those safe routes to like actual protected bikeways, streetscaping, ADA accessible crosswalks, like all that stuff, and all in the vein of childhood safety and mobility.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, but then doing
Yeah.
Amazon's bike buddies and getting bikes to kids who need them. There's so much that I want to do. E-bike, I'm gonna do an e-bikers ed for high schoolers. Because we all know that that's an issue. Yeah, so,
Middle schoolers.
yeah, and middle schoolers, I'll be teaching them how to bike. Because all they right now, the only class they have is mountain biking, which is totally different than,
Yeah, it's a little bit different, yeah.
than transportation biking, so,
Good.
yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait to like, I was just, all the stuff that we're working on, like the mobility hub at the Indian Creek Trail. The Parks District is probably gonna be applying for some funding to get that last 200 linear feet
Yay.
connected to the high school, which is like huge for
Awesome.
congestion mitigation. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good points where we can combine our efforts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Any others?
Yeah, I wondered if you had a chance to connect with any of the school district contacts about teacher transportation.
So not yet about teacher transportation, but the schools, we are going to be at the registration events.
Good.
We're giving the 2023 Gorge Pass
Right.
as well as a one-sheeter that just explains the program. Right now that's getting translated. And so that we have it in Spanish and English. And so we'll deliver that early next week to the schools, and then it'll be at the registration. I've also gotten the approval for us to be at the open houses as well. And then,
And you say giving passes, so for free, the students will get the passes?
yeah, so
Okay.
this is will be the 3rd year now, where we have the student free fare program. And each year we've kind of learned from how to distribute the passes to make sure they actually get into the hands of students and the parents know about it too. And so this will be the 2nd year that the schools are actually distributing them. But last year we kind of missed the mark and weren't able to get in part of the like take home packets, the registration. So this year we have improved upon that, and we will actually be at the registration and giving the hands directly to the kids and make sure they have the letters so the parents know. And then the other thing is that Sarah Crooks, our travel trainer that we pay for in conjunction with MCED, she's going to be working with the student government. So we also got okay with that so that they can kind of be our little travel ambassadors and teach the world about transit.
Awesome.
We're also working with Horizon to try to do some stuff for them to allow their students to use our routes to school.
Yeah.
I need that connection too. 'Cause I'm trying to make that.
Sounds like they're even gonna maybe push their start time of school back so that it works with our bus route.
Oh,
Wow.
Great.
So,
Okay.
awesome.
Any upcoming events? We are good. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Can I second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Clarify
Chair
that's
votes aye.
5:05.
And the meeting is adjourned at 5:05. That's my last roll.
Oh, sorry. Good job.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
I get to work on time?